Hello everybody, I'm Steven from Velhard TV, and today I'll be reviewing Netflix's The Haunting of Bly Manor, Season 1, Episode 1, The Great Good Place. This episode was slow. But first, this is an anthology series that Netflix is doing for hauntings. The first of the series was The Haunting of Hill House. This is now the second installment of it. And again, this episode was a little slow. It was more plot driven than anything. It sets the tone for the rest of the series in the way of storytelling, and it introduces some of the cast along with the location Bly Manor, where everything's pretty much going to take place. So this is a spoiler review, so I'm going to jump into it in 3, 2, 1. All right, so we start out in 2007. We're in North Carolina, and the narrator, who's played by Carla Gugino, she goes to a wedding rehearsal dinner at a apparently a haunted place that this couple is going to be getting married at. And, after the dinner rehearsal, everybody's sitting around drinking. And she comes and sits down and says, and people are talking about ghost stories, about how the place is haunted and other places. And she tells everybody that she's got a ghost story, but it's a little long. So they say, well, we got time, so, let's hear it. So she goes into the story, and then we go to London in 1987. Where a young American woman named Dani, played by Victoria Pedro, I'm gonna butcher this, but Pederiti, takes a job as a nanny in the English countryside, looking after two children. Their names are Flora and Miles Wingrave. They recently, lost their parents like a year or two ago. You'll find more about that as the story goes along. And, in the beginning, too, we get to see that Dani has a secret of her own, where she's covering up mirrors, because we get a glimpse of a shadowy figure in the mirrors with glowing eyes that she keeps seeing. So she's covering them up, so she's got like a little secret of her own. And then she gets picked up by the cook, Owen, and he takes her to Bly Manor. When they arrive, we meet Flora, who is playing with a creepy doll by a lake. And she puts it down, by the lake, and she takes Dani along with, her brother, Miles, and the housekeeper. And they go on a tour of the house. And Flora describes everything but the classroom as perfectly splendid. Now, she continuously says this throughout the whole entire episode, which, I believe it has a, underlying tone, and it kind of comes off a little creepy after a little bit, because she does use it a lot. So they, and they leave Dani to get changed, so that way she can, start teaching them and looking around a little more. And Miles walks in on her while she's changing, and he hands her a butterfly hair clip and says, "Welcome to the house." He's basically just welcoming her in, but he's walking in on her while she's changing, and, she's not too happy about that. And, so we go out throughout the rest of the day, and she does a few things with the kids. And then we go to Flora in the tub. And she's playing around, wants to be a bubble princess. And she notices the butterfly hair clip in Dani's hair. So she tells Dani that she shouldn't be wearing it. It wasn't hers. It was the nanny's that was there before her. So, Dani says, "Oh, sorry, Miles gave it to me." And Flora keeps looking behind Dani. So Dani's, turning around trying to see who's there. and there's nobody there. And then Flora does like, a complete turnaround. She says, "Oh no, don't worry about it. You can wear it. It's okay." And so Danny's like, "Huh? What? That's weird." And then, okay, so later on we cut to Danny putting the kids to bed. And this is where we get to see Flora play with more dolls. And she's got a huge dollhouse that's a replica of Bly Manor. And she's got it filled with all these strange looking dolls. And Danny's picking up some toys and stuff, putting them away, and she notices a little doll that's underneath a dresser. And Flora tells Danny to put that doll back underneath the dresser. She's really adamant about it. And it is to be left there. So she kind of is like, okay, so she puts it back. And Flora then tells her, "Do not go out of your room no matter what." She's very adamant about that too. She does not want her to go out of her bedroom at night for anything. So Danny, and she's trying to get Danny to promise her. So Danny's like, "Okay, I won't go out." And she ends up going out that night. And then we cut to during the daytime. Flora's upset with Danny for going out of her bedroom at night. And so she takes the kids outside, and then as they're all coming back in, she looks up at a terrace and sees a strange man up there on the terrace where nobody's supposed to go in that wing. So she hears a noise, turns around, and then looks back, and the guy's gone. So she goes to investigate and doesn't find anybody, and she finds another one of Flora's creepy dolls on the terrace. So she takes it and then notices there's some like lights flickering in this little church that's on the property. So she goes over to the church and sees that it's the housekeeper Hannah. So she talks to her about not finding any guys up there, because she did ask earlier about if there was anybody else there, and they all said no. And this is where we get a reveal from Hannah, who tells Danny that Flora found Mrs. Giselle, the nanny before her, dead in the little pond that you first see when Danny first gets to Bly Manor. And she says that ever since then, the kids don't really make a lot of noise. They don't play around as much as they used to, and she misses that. Excuse me. And she also tells Danny that Flora is making these little dolls to protect everybody in the household. So we get to learn a little bit more about why we see all these dolls and why Flora is playing with all these strange dolls, which is good. And then, as the episode ends, Miles is being a little weird, and Flora is like, stop being weird, because he wants to play a game instead of going to bed. And he asks Danny to go in and get a fan out of this closet in Flora's room, and then they lock her in the closet. And Danny freaks out, and she's having a panic attack, and then turns around and sees a mirror, and that shadowy figure with the burning eyes is there. So she's throwing the mirror down and covering it up, and eventually they let her out. And when she gets out, she makes him go to bed, and then she sees all these muddy footprints in the house. So she goes out the door, all the way out the front door, following these steps, and then she turns around and she looks up, and both of the kids are staring at her out of their windows. So that's where the episode ends. So excuse me, geez. This episode I thought was actually, even though it was slow, it was good. It's got the classic simple haunted house setup so far. Nothing's really happened and everything, because they set it up to meet all of the, the characters that they're introducing at this point. And you also have the narrator popping in to add color and context to the story of Bly. So it really immerses you and gives you that feel that you're sitting around telling ghost stories with your friends. I actually liked that about this episode. And hopefully it'll continue throughout the series. So I would give this really about a 7 or 8 out of 10. I would recommend, at least giving the first episode a shot. Typically with these kind of things, the first about 3 episodes are slow. And then they, after that, they start really building up, because usually the first 3 episodes are introducing everybody and the places. They're setting up the story to be able to, keep going and make it better as it goes along. So, yeah, I would recommend, this. I didn't really think the house, Haunting of Hill House, was really that good. But this one is definitely more of a ghost story feel to it. So, I can't wait to see the next episode, and I'll also review each of the episodes as I watch them. So everybody, take care for now.